Hi there and welcome to our channel. I'm Elizabeth, your trusty guide through the strange and spooky and the serious messed up corners of the true crime world. Grab a snack, maybe lock your doors for good measure. YouTube's full of channels ready to spill some of the weirdest secrets about the human race. But with so many choices, where do you even start? Don't sweat it. Just bring your curiosity, a strong stomach, and maybe a sense of humor, because humans are way more bizarre than you'd even imagine. Like with this case, when Australian surfer and lacrosse player Callum Robinson heeded a new friend's suggestion to explore a secluded beach south of the Mexican border, he had no way of knowing that what seemed like a simple decision at that time would ultimately lead to tragedy. This all started with an innocent suggestion. Travel 100 miles south of the border and you'll find a pristine beach known only to the locals. Sure, the journey would take them through some dangerous territory. What could possibly go wrong at a secluded beach? Unfortunately, their worst fears would soon be realized, shattering any expectation of a peaceful escape. What exactly happened next? Who was behind their tragic demise? Today, I have a chilling case to share with you. In this video, we'll venture south of the American-Mexican border to dive into this case that has recently reached a shocking conclusion. While the trial is still underway, the details of the story paint a picture that feels eerily straightforward. You know you're going to want to hear another wild case, so hit that subscribe button and join the ride, and thanks. So, welcome to Baja California, where Mexico adds a little cal to California's coastline. Dare I say it? The beaches here are even better, nestled between the Northern Pacific Ocean on the west and the Gulf of California on the east. Baja is a water lover's paradise. It's no wonder water is basically its love language. From hosting one of Mexico's most prominent fishing industries to running one of the country's busiest ports, Baja knows how to make waves, literally. Oh, and let's not forget the tourists. Thanks to its proximity to California towns and cities, Baja gets more day trippers than the theme park on a summer weekend. Sun, sand, and tacos. Who could resist? Right across the border, you'll find Tijuana, famous for nightlife, shopping, destinations, and, let's be honest, a few questionable life choices. And just a stone's throw away is Rosarito, where wide, sandy Pacific beaches beckon you to relax, assuming you can resist the call of its legendary taco stands, that is. Now, Baja California is home to 3.8 million proud souls, many of whom have mastered the art of rolling out the welcome mat for the wave of Americans and other tourists who flocked to their stunning shores. And honestly, can you blame them? Just look at these views. It's like someone had waved a magic wand and turned a postcard into reality. Now, don't be fooled about the sunshine and margaritas, and of course the beaches. Baja does have a darker side too. Like much of the northern Mexico, it has its share of challenges. So while you're here for the beaches, maybe you might want to steer away of any adventure shortcuts you might hear about. Northern Mexican state, including Baja California, continue to grapple with the persistent challenges of the drug trafficking and organized crime. The gravity of the situation is reflected in the travel advisories from the British government, which strongly recommends avoiding all but essential travel to areas such as Tijuana in Baja California, as well as Chihuahua, Sinaloa, and Tamaulipas, and of course Zacatecas. These regions are often staged for violent confrontations between rival gangs fighting over control of lucrative drug trafficking routes into the United States, and sadly, these clashes don't just confine to the underworld. They frequently spill into the public places, endangering the lives of residents and unsuspecting tourists alike. The stark reality presents a jarring contrast to idyllic beaches and vibrant tourist destinations civilization of the region. It serves as a sobering reminder that beneath the picturesque shores and the bustling hubs lies a complex and often harsh truth that cannot be ignored. Clash between security forces and drug groups can erupt at any moment without warning. Little time for escape, but beyond the world of cartels, tourists often find themselves caught in a dangerous situation. From robberies so far worse than fate. Tragically, this story is a haunting reminder of the nightmare many visitors fear. Now, this case starts on April 27th, 2024. 3 men mysteriously disappeared just south of the U.S.-Mexico border. 2 of them, brothers Jake and Callum Robinson from Perth, Australia, were on a camping trip and surfing trip in northern Mexico, accompanied by their American friend Jack Carter. It was on this day that the trio intended to check in at their Airbnb, simply vanished without a trace. All 3 of these men were honestly extraordinary people, and their sudden disappearance left a void so big it could have swallowed the entire soccer field. It was especially unusual for them to just vanish without a trace. These guys had been documenting their beachside adventures on Instagram, living the dream, but one day, poof, they're gone. And no, it wasn't just an outage. As the days passed, several clues were uncovered, and let's just say things took a dark turn. What started as a simple vacation would soon outrage nations from Mexico all the way to Australia. Now, you probably guess where this is heading. Spoiler, it's not to a surprise beach party. But before we dive into what exactly happened to these guys, let's first get to know who they are. Let's start with Callum Robinson, also known as Big Kalua, or Australian Thor. Standing at 6'3" and weighing in at 250 pounds, Callum was not a man you'd want to meet in the dark alley, unless you were desperate, and in need of a hug, that is. Despite being a lacrosse powerhouse who struck fear into his opponents, Callum was giant teddy bear at heart. He was kind, thoughtful, and genuinely enjoyed the company of others. Oh, did I mention? He was ridiculously smart. Like Einstein, with a surfboard. Smart, that is. Not only was Callum the beast on the lacrosse field, but the guy was also a whiz in the lab. He completed his chemistry degree in just 3 years, because why take 4 years when you can just do it in 3 and still have time to surf? Originally from Perth, Australia, Callum moved to Maryland to study at Stevenson University, where he didn't just hit the books, but also hit the lacrosse field for the Mustangs. From there, he played in Australian championships and even landed a spot with the Chesapeake Bayhawks. Yeah, this guy wasn't just good, he was the kind of great that makes you wonder if he had a secret cape tucked under his jersey or something. But it wasn't all about goals and chemistry formula. Callum was a huge fan of the water, spending weekends either surfing or just soaking up the sun on the beach. He was all about activities, lifestyle, sun, sand, and getting ripped in the gym. As his Instagram so widely stated, quote, "If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room," unquote. Honestly, Callum was living life like it was an action movie, except with more sunscreen and fewer explosions. Callum wasn't without his own challenges. As someone with a type 1 diabetes, he had to carefully regulate his insulin levels, monitor his blood sugar level. However, it seemed they had no problem managing his condition. Callum wasn't the only Robinson to make his way to America. His younger brother, Jake, traveled to the U.S. to spend some time with him. Jake, still living in Australia, was looking to experience the trip of a lifetime with his brother before embarking on his own career as a doctor. It was a special moment for the 2 of them, one that would end far too soon. Jake Robinson, in his early years, worked at an Australian hospital after studying at Notre Dame University, though just to clarify, not the one in France, but the one in Australia. His passion for global health led him on adventurous trips to places like Nepal, where he worked on health project with Nepali students. As his mother had described in an interview, Jake was happy gentle, compassionate soul with a clear passion for medicine. Beyond his medical career, Jake shared a love for surfing with his brother Callum. He also had a soft spot for Fruit Loops, and let's be honest, they're undeniably one of the best cereals in existence. No debate there. After graduating, Jake worked at several region hospitals across Australia, earning a solid reputation as a well-respected and beloved employee at the South Metropolitan Health Service. Now, moving on to the third member of this trio, Callum and Jake's good friend, Jack Carter Rhoad, better known as Carter. He was born in Atlanta and raised in San Diego. Carter graduated from North High in Georgia before joining his friends on this unforgettable journey. Carter's journey began at Florida Southern College, where he earned a degree in business management. Afterward, he transferred to Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego, where he not only excelled academically, but also stood out one of the team's best captains in soccer. After college, Carter moved to Guatemala and pursued professional soccer, and when he returned to the U.S., he settled in San Diego. Over the next decade, he cultivated a thriving career in recruiting, yet his unwavering passion for giving back remained at his heart of everything that he did. He volunteered regularly with Young Life and also returned to coach as a volunteer for the PLNU men's soccer team. It's very clear that Carter loved soccer. He was named Defensive Player of the Year, allowing only 1.2 goals per game in his junior and senior years. Beyond soccer, he was an avid traveler who loved exploring nature and experiencing all that America had to offer. Carter was truly the embodiment of someone who lived life with a love for nature and a heart for helping others. Carter wasn't just a standout athlete and coach. He was also the guy you'd want to hang around for a laugh. Knowing for his sense of humor, Carter had a knack for keeping things light. He also loved snowboarding, bowling, and here's the big connection, wakeboarding and surfing. Basically, if it involved board and some balance, Carter was all in. To top it off, Carter was a man of faith who had a soft spot for Chick-fil-A. Let's just say his future looked prosperous and healthy, as long as he didn't let his love for waffle fries get too out of hand, that is. Now, I know I've said this before, but Jake, Callum, and Carter were truly extraordinary people. Their families had every reason to be proud of all these men that they raised. By April 2024, Callum was gearing up for his 33rd birthday, which was part of the reason his younger brother Jake joined him in the U.S. as surfers. They wanted to find the perfect wave to celebrate, with their buddy Carter alongside for the ride. Callum wasn't the one to shy away from adventure, and he wasn't afraid to cross the Mexican border to chase that perfect wave. But before they hit that beach, there was one fateful encounter on a seemingly ordinary afternoon. In April 2024, Callum Robinson crossed paths with an unfamiliar face, an encounter that, unbeknownst to either one of them, would set the stage for a series of events that would alter everything. Callum, eager to catch few waves and get some underwater shots, struck up a conversation with a photographer working at a booth near Ocean Beach. The man's name was Randy. He was an avid surfer and passionate photographer with a knack of connecting with people. As these two chatted, they hit it off, bonding over the shared love of the ocean and photography. Seeing the chemistry between them, Colin invited Randy over to his place later to drop off the photos and share a couple beers. And it was during this relaxing meetup that Callum opened up about his birthday plans. With his brother in town, he wanted to make this occasion truly special. Something adventurous, memorable, and out of the ordinary. Curious, Callum asked Randy for recommendations on unique surf spots. Randy, familiar with the area, knew just the place, a destination that promised the perfect waves without the crowds, costs, and commercial vibes of type tourist spots. Little did Callum know, this suggestion would set the wheels in motion for a faithful journey. Now, Callum has always been type of guy that would strike up a conversation with anyone, anywhere, and come away with a friend. So, after his chat with Randy, he thanked him for the solid advice on Surf Spot, and in true to Callum's fashion, he invited him to join the adventure. "Come on, mate, it'll be epic," he said with that signature big grin. And Randy, how could he say no? The plan was set. Randy could join Callum, his brother Jake, and the buddy Carter on his dream surf trip. But as luck would have it, or rather a packed schedule would have it, Randy realized just days before the trip that he couldn't make it. His job called. He had to back out, much to his disappointment. Thankfully, Callum, Jake, and Carter were nothing if not understanding. "No worries, mate," Callum assured him. "We've got this. Just tell us how to get there." Randy, ever so helpful guy, drew them a detailed map, complete with bold arrows, notes, like "turn left at the big cactus," and probably a little smile on the face. Just highlighted the dusty road branching off of Highway 1 that would lead them to the secluded beach that he had recommended. With the map in hand and their spirits high, the trio packed up and hit the road. On April 26, 2024, their adventure officially began as they crossed the border into Mexico. Their mission? Sun, sand, and surfing perfection. Their first stop, Rosarito Beach in Baja California, where they wasted no time soaking up the vibes. Armed with boards, a sense of adventure, and probably a bag of snacks, the two Aussies and their American pal were living the dream. Or so they thought, because while they were gearing up for Perfection's surf trip, fate had a few unexpected and unwelcome twists in store for all of them. By April 27th, the trio found themselves in Ensenada, fully embraced their adventure. A snapshot from that day captured them lounging with beers in hand during an overcast afternoon, their carefree spirits shining through despite the gray skies. Carter, ever the joker, pulled out an old tape player, goofing around with his two Aussie brothers. The connection between them was unmistakable, a vibrant mix of laughter, shared memories, and the unshakable bond that only comes from embarking on an adventure together. Later that day, the weather shifted, and the sun made a glorious return. The three friends took a full advantage of the change, relaxing in a hot tub, and plotted their next move. They decided to travel west to a well-known beach called Playa San Miguel. It was there that they had spent quiet mornings, sipping coffee and sharing stories, their conversations likely bouncing between light-hearted banter and reflected moments about their lives. Before heading off, Callum posted one final photo on Instagram. The image was poetic. A cluster of vibrant flowers in the foreground, with waves crashing dramatically behind. It seemed to encapsulate the beauty of their trip, a serene yet powerful snapshot of their shared experience. But after that post, something strange happened. Callum's Instagram, usually steady streaming of updates, suddenly went silent. His social media activity ceased entirely, as did Carter's and Jake's. Messages and calls to all three went unanswered. Concern among the loved ones quickly grew. Callum's type 1 diabetes added urgency to the situation. He was meticulous about monitoring his insulin levels, and any disruption in his routine could have serious consequences. Combined with their failure to check into an Airbnb they booked in Rosarito, the silence became even more worrisome. Once started as a joyful surf trip had now become a troubling mystery, leaving their family and friends to wonder what had happened and what gone wrong, and hoped for some answers soon. When the owners of the Airbnb in Rosarito realized that Callum, Jake, and Carter had failed to show up, alarm bells began to ring. Something was clearly wrong. By May 1st, 2 days later, their mysterious disappearances, Callum and Jake's mother took on Facebook, pleading for help and urging anyone with information to come forward. Her heartfelt post ignited a wave of concern, and news of the trio's disappearance quickly spread worldwide. Social media platforms buzzed with activity. Mexican WhatsApp groups were flooded with speculations. Media outlets began covering the unsettling story. reports emerged that a woman had been arrested in connection with her disappearance, raising even more questions. Meanwhile, Mexican authorities intensified the search efforts, deploying drones and organizing widespread search to locate Callum, Jake, and Carter. Their disappearance while traveling along the Baja California coast had now become an international mystery. Local media confirmed that 3 men were traveling in a white Chevy Colorado, reportedly heading toward the lighthouse at Puerto San Jose. Local police pieced together information from witnesses and traced their route to their last known campsite. When officers arrived, what they found only deepened the mystery. The search had now escalated from a missing persons case to race against time, with everyone desperate for a breakthrough that something had gone violently wrong. Officers at the campsite were confronted with the grim evidence that pointed to foul play. Bloodstains and drag marks hinted at a violent attack, and further investigation painted a heartbreaking picture. Burnt remnants of the tents, later identified as the belongings to Callum and Carter, lay scattered in the area. The pickup truck, which had been missing, was eventually discovered 4 miles away in a remote location north of Baja. It too had been torched beyond recognition. With mounting evidence of a tragedy, Mexican authorities intensified the search in an attempt to uncover the truth. The focus soon shifted to secluded, hard-to-reach area near the beach where the trio had last been seen. There, officers discovered a 4-meter deep well. What they found inside confirmed everyone's worst fears.
Yet to formally identify bodies found on a remote stretch of the Baja California coast, but they say there's strong evidence linking them to the disappearance of 2 missing Australian brothers and their American friend.
Our North America correspondent Carrington Clark is there in Baja California for us. Carrington, get us up to speed on what the latest is there.
Yeah, so we're here outside the forensic office in Ensenada, where the 4 bodies that were discovered in this well in remote part of Baja California have been taken to further investigation. Now, yesterday we first got the news that there were 3 bodies that had been discovered, and based on the decomposition, it appeared that they'd been in there for similar amounts of time. Subsequently, a 4th body was also discovered, but given the level of decomposition in that case, at this point, authorities aren't sure if it is or isn't connected. But those original 3 bodies that were discovered, authorities are saying there is strong evidence linking them to the disappearance of the 2 Australian brothers, Callum and Jack Robinson, along with their American friend, Jack Carter Rhoad. Now, we haven't had them formally identified, and they are working through the forensics as well as DNA evidence. We're also aware that this well was found about 2 kilometres from a campsite that was linked to the men. They believe that's where they were last at camping. Now, that campsite had been destroyed by fire, and authorities say that there were human remains found on site, and they are also being tested. So this is obviously very worrying news for the families involved, but that's the state of play at the moment, and we're waiting for further investigations.
In Carrington, as we understand it, at least 1 person has been charged over this investigation.
So we knew that 3 people had been detained, including a woman who had a cell phone that was linked to one of the 3 men, the 2 Australians and their American friend, although authorities wouldn't tell us exactly whose cell phone they believe that was, as well as drugs. But now she was also the partner of a man, and his brother, as long as him, were also detained in relation to the disappearances. One of those 2 brothers has now been charged with what effectively is a kidnapping charge relating to the 2 Australians and the American. So that one man now has been charged with kidnapping. We're waiting to see if further charges are laid, but again, it's still early stages in this investigation, and again, importantly, they haven't formally identified the bodies at this point.
The body of Callum, Jake, and Carter, all 3 men, had been murdered. Each suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the head, execution style. The news sent shockwaves through their families and communities. What begun as a joyful surfing trip between friends had ended in unspeakable tragedy. Surfers from around the world came together in a touching tribute. They formed a circle on their boats in the ocean, a traditional gesture of solidarity and remembrance, tossing flowers into the water as a way to honor Callum, Jake, and Carter. The serene ceremony highlighted the deep connection the three men shared with the sea and the profound sense of loss felt by the community. As the investigation progressed, authorities uncovered a startling detail. Underneath the bodies of Callum, Jake, and Carter in that well was a fourth body. This discovery, however, was unrelated to the trio's story. The body had been there for much longer. Its presence, however, provided chilling insight. The site appeared to be part of a calculated and sinister murder plan. The well had been expertly concealed, boarded up, and covered in dirt, suggesting premeditation. Evidence pointed to a likelihood that the crime had been premeditated by Mexican locals. Authorities continued their work, piecing together the events that led to the tragedy. The details painted a haunting picture of a well-orchestrated attack, leaving many to wonder about what motives might have been behind this horrific act. While justice for Callum, Jake, and Carter remained uncertain, their legacy, adventure, kindness, and zest for life echoed far beyond the beaches. Shortly after the investigation, the crime scene, Mexican authorities made a breakthrough in the case, arresting 3 individuals they believed to be responsible for the deaths of Callum, Jake, and Carter. The suspects were identified as one of the ring leaders is Jesus Gerardo and Christian Alejandro and his 23-year-old girlfriend, Ari Gazelle. Jesus had a lengthy criminal record, including charges of drug dealing, domestic violence, and vehicle theft. Mexican authorities speculate that the group targeted Callum's Chevrolet Colorado, hoping to steal his expensive tires. It is common for victims of robbery to comply with the demands of criminals, but it appears Callum, Jake, and Carter might have resisted. The resistance is believed to have escalated the situation to violence, leading to their tragic deaths. The investigation took a criminal turn when Ari was stopped by the police doing a routine patrol on May 1st, 2024. During the stop, she allegedly discarded a small bag containing 100 grams of methamphetamine before attempting to flee. Authorities had been closely monitoring the movements of the suspect after tracing Carter's iPhone, which had pinged a local mobile phone tower. This eventually led to Ari, who was implicated in the events surrounding the murders. In court, Ari revealed that Gerardo had confessed to the killings after returning home from a campsite where the 3 men were last seen alive on April 27th. He reportedly said, "I essentially killed 3 gringos." He then showed her the vehicle, which now are equipped with the stolen tires from the Chevrolet. This evidence further pointed to Gerardo's involvement in the crime. Now, with this new information, Gerardo now faces serious charges, and authorities are focusing on proving that Ari was in possession of the methamphetamines with the intent to sell. Meanwhile, Gerardo will remain in custody where further legal proceedings will determine his fate. The investigation continues as families of Callum, Jake, and Carter seek justice for their loved ones. The discovery of the 4th body in the well has raised suspicions that Mexico's notorious cartels might have been involved in the deaths of Callum, Jake, and Carter. Investigators believe that the case bears the hallmark of the organized crime, with the violence escalating beyond petty theft. Stealing tires was not speculated, would not usually result in the level of brutality witnessed at this crime scene. Baja California, where the men were killed, has been grappling with the cartel violence for years. The region has seen a disturbing rise in crime as local authorities struggle to gain control. This isn't the first time that foreign tourists have been affected by the cartel's reach. Back in 2015, two Australian surfers, Adam Coleman and Dean Lucas, were tragically murdered in the nearby state. This types of incidents have unfortunately become more frequent in this area. While the fate of Ari, Christian, and Jesus remains uncertain, their arrest is clear an indication that authorities believe that they are responsible for the men's death. The swift and brutal nature of the Mexican justice system means that the suspects will likely face serious consequences if found guilty, and the evidence already gathered points heavily to their involvement. The case highlights the ongoing struggles of Mexico in dealing with the cartel influence in the region, where a cartel's widely terrifying power and show little regard of human life. Disappearances and murders like these are far too common. Mexican authorities have worked to close this case, but the broader issue of the cartel's violence remains a major concern for the safety and security of both locals and tourists alike. To paint the picture clear, the Mexican government estimates that over 110,000 people have disappeared since record-keeping began in 1962. However, local groups insist that the actual number is very far higher. It is evident through the Instagram tributes that Callum infectious cheer and upbeat spirit were not only a source of light for those closest to him, but also everyone he encountered. His energy was simply magic. Jake, his younger brother, often took the quieter role in the background, but his heart and personality were just as remarkable. An avid traveler, an inspiring doctor. Jake had plans to work at the hospital in Melbourne. His dream was to heal, support, and save lives. All more tragic that his own life was cut short by the actions of evil and greedy men, all for 4 tires. Carter, too, was a man who radiated warmth and love. A devoted family man, he made his priority to regularly visit his parents. Recently engaged to his partner, Natalie, Carter had big plans for his future, plans that would never be fulfilled. It's devastating reality that these men, full of promise and goodness, were robbed of their potential. The families of Callum, Jake, and Carter now face the heartbreaking task of finding comfort and closure as they begin a long, painful road to recovery. Their loss is felt deeply by all who knew them.
Happy Tuesday. Good morning. It's 11:11, and I'm just thinking about you. Just wanted to drop you a quick message and say hello, baby. Hope you're having a phenomenal start to your day. I'm sensing a big grin on your face for some reason today. I hope you're full of positivity and smiles. Cheers, baby. Miss ya.
Unfortunately, this does bring us to the end of what we know so far on this case. As always, more information will come out as the trial proceeds, and additional details are made available to the public. And my thoughts and prayers are with the families and loved ones during this incredible, difficult time. And what do you think, guys, about this case? The senseless loss of life is truly heartbreaking. Thank you so much for tuning in to another gripping case. Until next time, stay safe, stay cautious, and remember, locking your doors is always a good idea. Take care, and bye for now.